And I believe we're live. So tonight on the stream, we're going to have Garland Farms, my friend JD, who also has a YouTube channel. He's also a regenerative farmer raising ruminant animals. So I'm just waiting for him to pop in, and I'll send the link, the invite. I'll just copy the invite right now. Copy paste. There you go, JD. All right. So what we could do while we're waiting for JD is we can go check out his YouTube channel. So it's Garland Farms on YouTube. I'm going to try and post a link also. Copy link. I'm going to put that also. Paste. So here is Garland Farms YouTube. Hello, Darla Lama. You're quick on the button. How'd you get here so quickly? All right. Let's go check out present. See what that looks like. All right, screen share. There you go. So Garland Farms over here. This is his channel. Check out some of the videos. So he does a lot of debunking veganism. Joey Carbstrong, he's a very known vegan activist YouTuber. He has very nice eyes. They don't look psychotic at all. I just want to pop it up. I always pop up my channel on my phone just so I can realize if I screw up my screen share or something like that. I can kind of see it. I always pop up my channel on my phone. There we go. So these are all his videos. Lots of debunking veganism. They're usually like nice and short and sweet also. There you go. Let's see if JD is here yet. He's not here yet.
Hashtag Back British Farming Day. Very interesting. They decided to have the day on the 2nd of November, a day after World Vegan Day. What they're really telling us to do is back British animal farming, animal harming. They're talking about dairy and beef, pork, chicken, eggs. But what about the potato farmers and the fruit and vegetable farmers? What about them? Why don't we back them, right? Back farmers. Back the plant farmers. Back farmers. Back the plant farmers, right?
All right. All right.
Back farmers. Back the plant farmers. 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 Back farmers. Back the plant farmers.
So here what JD's like showing very often is the hypocrisy of veganism. There are a tremendous amount of animals that are, basically poisoned by the pesticides that they use, a lot of like anticoagulant pesticides. JD's shown like even like large deer that like have big chunks sliced off of them because of the harvesters. There's farmers that consider like the wild animal pest control, so they're going around just shooting them. So anyways, JD is here right now, so I'm going to let him explain it way better than I can explain it, and we're going to have a discussion about his job, regenerative farming, as well as the vegans. Hey, JD, do you hear me?
Hi, Jason. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Great.
So we just decided to do this last minute, right? You've been working all day.
Yeah, I've been working all day. I finished up with cutting up some firewood and
Nice.
got it all unloaded and everything. So
I heard that you went on Patrick's OTW News or something when he was doing a live feed.
yeah, I did.
I asked Pat to show me like which one it was and the timestamp. How did that go?
It actually went really well.
Yeah.
I was surprised at the reception received regarding the information that I provided. He like a lot of people out there, even proud meat eaters, don't understand that there are a lot more animals that are harmed and tortured and killed for the crops that provide the vegan and vegetarian menus than are killed for meat. Let me see if I can pull up those numbers.
Sure.
Do you remember me talking about the numbers of birds killed via?
I remember some graph that you had put, but like to put it kind of in context, no, it's worth like mentioning again and popping it up. Just while you're popping it up, so the first time JD came on my live stream, it was my first live stream. It was with OTW News, my friend Patrick. Then Bruce Cesal, my brother, very large channel, popped on also. And at one point, there was like a back and forth between JD and Patrick. So Patrick was, talking about his spiritual beliefs that eating animal food makes you basically further from God and stuff like that. And they started, interacting, and I kind of cut JD off. So I want to start like the live stream off because I looked at it in retrospect. Like, I apologize that I should have just stayed out. You guys were two adults. I should have kind of like let you guys just talk it out. But it was my first live streams, and I just want to apologize for that because like when I looked back at the stream, I kind of like didn't allow you to finish what you were saying, but I was new, so I just wanted to apologize about that. But after, I want to get to know also what you guys discussed, but we can do that towards the end, what you discussed with Patrick and stuff like that, or get
you're completely forgiven.
All right, good.
I knew that you were, that like you said, that was your first stream, and also Pat is an old friend, and I've got a lot of passion behind what's driving me in my the things I do to try to educate people about the dark side of a plant-based diet. And sometimes that will come across a little bit, I've been described as gruff by some, it's mostly just passion. I don't
Yeah.
like to. I think I told you in an email once that my brother was born with spina bifida, which is a birth defect that affects the spinal cord, and so he's had to live with permanent nerve damage all his life. And this, I've really studied human nutrition over the years, and I don't blame my mother because, even back in those days, the internet certainly wasn't there for research purposes, and
Yeah.
we lived way out in West Texas, which was kind of the last frontier, the wild west. So it wasn't like we could go down to the local library and learn all about human nutrition. And back then they didn't really know what we know today. But I do know that my mother was eating basically a high grain diet, a plant-based diet. Even back then they were promoting that.
Yeah.
And I think that there was some nutritional deficiencies that folate, iodine, vitamin B12 that probably contributed to a genetic propensity for spina bifida.
Yeah.
And so I know firsthand the pain that can be dealt by a plant-based diet.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I also experimented with a plant-based diet back in college. I had walked on to the collegiate football team there and had earned full scholarship, and was reading a muscle and fitness magazine, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, even back in those days, was promoting complex carbohydrates as a muscle builder.
Mm-hmm.
And simultaneously there was vegan propaganda going on. I spent about 4 weeks during one summer essentially eating a vegan diet. And I showed up to the field house to work out, and the defensive coordinator met me out front. He was on his way out, and he looked at me, and he said, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean, what is wrong with me?" He said, "Well, you've lost weight." And I said, "Yeah, but I think it's fat." And he said, "No, you've lost muscle."
Mm.
And I said, "Well, I'll find out here in a few minutes because I'm going straight to the weight room." And he said, "Well, I'll tell you this, if you don't start eating some meat, you're going to lose your scholarship."
Jeez.
So I went to the weight room, and yeah, I had lost about 25 pounds in about 4 weeks, and it was all muscle.
Mm-hmm.
I had lost tremendous amounts of strength. It was a huge wake-up call to me. I knew then that I'd been lied to by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pursuing a kinesiology degree at the time, and I should have known from human physiology that complex carbohydrates are not what builds muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
But back then I was falling prey to the same trappings that most people fall into today, which is to listen to celebrity influencers and allow their BS to override my own common sense and education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what happened with me when I started the ketogenic diet. I hadn't really looked into nutrition at all, but since it was like a high-fat diet, I felt like that I needed to kind of do some research. I had just let me check if I still have it. I'm not sure where it is. Anyways, it's a pretty big book. It's called the Ketogenic Bible, and it has all the research with all the citations in the back and stuff like that. And you can easily go on Google Scholar, and the research there. It was kind of like a red pill moment or something like that, where I was like, wow, we're really being deceived. And there was a lot of literature out there that was beneficial to the ketogenic diet. But then after you'd look at the mainstream, because I had started the ketogenic diet when it was like the big fad. It was like 5 years ago, about Jason Fung, intermittent fasting. It was all kind of like happened there. And I jumped on it. I lost like 40 pounds within the year, and other health benefits. So I was really passionate. That's how I started the channel. It used to be called Fast Keto Prime. But yeah, like everybody is just brainwashed about, cholesterol, fat's bad. If you're going to eat fat, you should eat those seed oils. Don't eat butter. It's almost like exactly the opposite, basically. And that's all the food corporations and stuff like that. I mean, the CDC, they're pushing, I think, to a plant-based diet, So yeah, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's really scary, the influence that these industries have gotten a hold of over the entities that are supposed to be telling us what's healthy to eat. A related video that I put together.
Okay.
I'm going to post here in the private chat.
Okay.
And this has to do with what you just mentioned, which is that we've been lied to. And this is regarding.
Okay. So I can play that whenever you want.
Okay. I'll just do a quick introduction to the video. This is one of, back when I was in college, the thing that I turned to after that story that I just told you about, my little brush with a plant-based or a vegan diet, almost causing me to lose my scholarship. That was back when Atkins was really popular. Do you know Atkins?
Yeah, it was like more a higher protein, low carb, higher protein-ish.
Well, it's high fat, moderate protein.
Yeah, okay.
It was a ketogenic diet. It was the first marketing of a ketogenic diet.
Yeah.
And that was I did use the Atkins program to lower my body fat. One of the things that will reduce an athlete's speed more than anything else is an increase in body fat percentage. And I had been weighing about 245 and was running a 4.7 in the 40-yard dash, which is pretty fast. And but I had been eating, just following the calories in turns to muscle philosophy, as long as you're lifting weights. But I had taken my body fat percentage had moved from probably around 10% up to 19%. And I was tested in the 40-yard dash, and I was running a 5.3. So I went from a 4.7 to a 5.3. And then I used a ketogenic diet to lower that body fat percentage back down to about 9%. And so I went from about 270 pounds back down to 245 pounds. But this time at 245, I was a lower body fat percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So I was running a high 4.6, like a 4.68 in the 40. So that was, that was fast enough to get me into the NFL. I didn't make it into the NFL because of a back injury, but
Wow.
my speed certainly was in that category for a big guy.
Jeez, yeah.
So yeah, one of the things that I realized during that time of my life was that we had been lied to about the sugar that's in complex carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this video that I linked you to is about the hidden sugar in things like oatmeal, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. You sent it to me in private. Do you want me also to just share it to the public also?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I'll do that also. Copy link. Okay, let's start it. Present, share screen. Give me a second. I'm going to put it, I have to decide share. Should be playing now.
Look at the nutritional label of a popular brand of plain oatmeal, and let's look closely at the carbohydrate section. At the very top and in bold letters, we see the section title, and it says total carbohydrates, where it is disclosed that there are 27 grams of total carbohydrates. Then we see beneath total carbohydrates the words dietary fiber. However, make note of the fact that the words dietary fiber have been indented a ways from the left margin. This tells us that dietary fiber is a subset of total carbohydrates. When we look below dietary fiber in the same indentation, we see sugars, and we're told that this product contains just 1 gram of sugar. So the package is clearly declaring 4 grams of fiber and 1 gram of sugar. Meanwhile, if we add the 2 disclosed subsets of total carbohydrate, 4 plus 1, we get 5, which is an intolerable margin of error from the actual 27. This means that there are 22 grams of something in this product that has not been properly disclosed as it should. What they're failing to disclose to Richard and the rest of the human herbivore population is that the undisclosed material, the thing missing from within that carbohydrate section, happens to be starch, which is outrageous when you consider that starch is sugar and is literally 81% of the product. You see, humans have an enzyme in our saliva and in our stomach called amylase that makes short work of the bonds that bind these glucose molecules together to make starch. This is why starchy foods will begin to taste sweet if you hold them in your mouth long enough. Knowing what we know now, oatmeal has been exposed to be only pretending to be 4 grams of fiber and 1 gram of sugar. To get an honest assessment of the product, we must add that 1 disclosed gram of sugar to the 22 undisclosed grams of sugar, and we get the actual sugar, and that number is 23 net grams of sugar. Let us take a moment to address this practice of non-disclosure we see here. It seems to me that a misrepresentation of 22 grams of sugar content in 1 serving of anything, especially when it's being recommended to diabetics and the obese as being low in sugar, is intolerable and certainly should be investigated as a breach of the Fair Packaging and Labeling Act. It's also important to note that every brand of bean, lentil, and grain in the U.S. is using this sleight of hand trick. Anyone who keeps a close eye on their blood glucose level will tell you that a 22-gram misrepresentation of sugar like this will ruin one's ability to successfully manage sugar intake and will often lead to the individual suffering from chronically high glucose and insulin levels day after day after day with no clear understanding as to why. There's a plethora of diseases that have been strongly associated with the chronically high insulin levels we find with a high grain, lentil, and bean diet.
Perfect.
Yeah. So if you look at the, people, diabetics and others that are trying to keep their
Let's
sugar
have
in
a look
check,
at the nutritional
Sorry.
label of a popular brand.
and they look at the nutritional label on the foods that they're eating, they're being lied to about the amount of sugar that's actually there.
Yeah.
And
I
I
have
think it's criminal.
I have one video where I look like a crazy man going around all the middle section of the grocery store, showing every single product also that has seed oils.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you have a mixture of, a large amount of sugar, and people think, they're going for the brown bread or, healthy choice. They got all these cool labels, heart association labels, when the bulk of it is way too much sugar for our body and mixed with industrialized seed oils that are highly oxidized. So the whole middle section basically is toxic to the human body. I did one video. I'm gonna just pop it up, try and pop it up also. In my video, I'm talking basically, like you had said, that we can produce our own sugar through gluconeogenesis. Let me just pop up this because I'm a man. I can't do two things at the same time. There. Let me share screen. Yeah, over here, I'll look at my older videos. One of the first. Well, first of all, there's this one. This is like just kind of explaining seed oils, just basically how they're produced, the omega-6, ratio that will really screw you up, body composition and glucose. So, like you were mentioning, glucose doesn't build anything. It's strictly a source of fuel. You could use it. It's beneficial for athletes for glycogen replacement. I mean, if you're training every day and going hard, it can be useful. Over here, I had showed in the previous one how to avoid seed oils. That's where I literally go in to the grocery store and just start flipping all of the side ingredients. I'll just play it quickly, not the whole thing. I won't play the whole thing, but just to get an idea.
You're aware that the vegetable oils are inflammatory and really unhealthy and not natural for us. So you make the effort to get extra virgin olive oil spray for your pan so things don't stick. But has soybean oil in it. Boom. Vegetable oil. Maybe if I look at it, it's just going to be pure olive oil since all the olive oil stuff has the vegetable oil. Maybe I just live in bizarro land. Hey, they're low in sodium. Boom, vegetable oil. Hey, it says nature. It must be healthy. Let's see. Multigrain brand, blah, blah, blah. Cottonseed oil. Boom.
Yes.
Man, this stuff's super healthy because it says 100% whole grain. Awesome. Right beside the germ, water, vegetable oil. Boom.
I think we get the point. All right, stop the share. Yeah, so it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I watched that video of yours. That was a good one.
Yeah, I must have looked crazy because I'm just going around filming like labels. On top of I'm in Quebec, so I'm speaking English and I'm just going boom, boom. but yeah, no, it's really frustrating. And they're, like people literally think that margarine is healthier than butter. They don't use lard. They use Crisco. They have no idea that I think it's 10% of the populate, like 10% of the calories that the majority of the people in the United States and Canada, it's literally seed oils. 10% of the calories, and this stuff will go embed itself in all sorts of tissues. I know when I started the ketogenic diet, like I was really into the omega-3s and stuff like that. So I was eating like cod liver and stuff like that. I didn't even like it, but I wanted to really like up my omega-3, and I eliminated pretty much all of the omega-6 except the omega-6 that are in all animal food, you know, like from milk, right, to pork. I know pork might have a little bit more omega-6 compared to, but that's how we were eating before to get our essential omega-3 and omega-6. We were, without even knowing what the hell they were, we were eating the bulk of our food was animal food, and we were supplementing, you know, with side dishes of plants and various foods like that. The minute the early 20th century, when those seed oils started, heart disease started going up. Yes, there was smoking, but I mean, seed oils and smoking. But no, they went after cholesterol and fat. I forget who was the guy, you probably know, the guy with the cherry. Ansel Keys. Yeah, you know what? Like he's probably killed more people than Hitler just because of the false science.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
And it still continues. You know, like they do these epidemiological studies, right? So these studies, they say there's associations, there's links, there's risk. Everybody in the population understands that as causation, and these are like manipulated statistics, stupid food questionnaires. And then there are actual good, I won't say good science. There is science on our side, but the media doesn't use it. It's kind of like the stupidity that we see here during the whole 3 years of nonsense that we've lived through. Certain people get a platform, and other people that are just as credible do not get a platform if they're not, they're not playing along with the narrative. And that goes also for food. It's just like the same propaganda technique used on the population, just on every single level. You know, it's really frustrating. What else could we talk about? Talk a bit about like, do you have a next topic, or we could talk about regenerative farming. We could talk about what nutrients. Let's focus more on veganism first. So vegans claim that they can get every single nutrient on a plant-based diet, right? So let's debunk that aspect first. Let's go step by step into the nutrients that are missing, other phytochemicals that are in the plants that can cause issues as well, and the fact that if we didn't live currently where there's fortified almond milks, everything's fortified, and vegans do take a large amount of supplementation. Explain how this is like you cannot, the claim that you can be healthy on a vegan diet. Let's go through that. Let's try and debunk that. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's dive into that. However, I want to just provide an addendum to what you just said about the seed oils, which is, I think, what you illustrated in that grocery store trip video is that they are putting these seed oils in everything now. When I was a child, you could go to the grocery store and you could buy a pie or a cake or cookies, and there would be the fat that would be used in those would be a healthy butter in most cases, or lard. Yeah. And now what they're putting in there is always some type of vegetable oil that's got these a high omega-6 content.
And it's hydrogenated too. That's another process that makes it even more toxic.
Now, the reason that they're hydrogenating it is to make it two reasons. One is to solidify it, because it will be solid at a room temperature rather than a liquid, and also the hydrogenation of the oil will actually give it some protection against turning rancid, which is why saturated fats don't turn rancid so easily. They're they're very stable compared to unsaturated fats, which aren't completely saturated with hydrogen atoms. And it's hydrogen that these fats are saturated with. But the Canada was the first country to put out a bulletin to the people to ask them to please reduce the amount of omega-6 fatty acids in the diet, because omega-6s are an essential fatty acid. However, the natural ratio has been determined to be 1 omega-6 to 1 omega-3 in the human diet to be ideal. And the omega-6s, the content, the amount of omega-6s are so high now that the inflammation is causing most of the disease that we see. It's been determined to be the inflammation cause that's contributing to diabetes and cancer and arteriosclerosis. But there is one seed oil source that even the ketogenic diet, the keto community hasn't really addressed. And this goes back to what you said earlier, Jason, which was when human beings consume these seed oils, these oxidized inflammatory omega-6 oils become assimilated into our tissues.
Exactly.
Damage. But when you feed livestock grains, the oil that's in these grains is these highly inflammatory omega-6s. So when you take a cow and you fatten it on grains, the majority of that excess fat that contributes to the high fat content that grain-fed beef enthusiasts are shooting for, and a lot of those ketogenic enthusiasts always go for the high-fat grain-fed beef. Well, that is grain-fed beef has an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of about 24 omega-6s to every one omega-3. And so those extra omega-6s are coming from the seed oils that are being fed to the cattle. So when you eat grain-fed beef, you're consuming a hidden source of these inflammatory seed oils that we should be trying to avoid. Does that make sense?
So that's the importance of also trying to look locally. First of all, to encourage the farmers locally, and to assure that you're getting, I guess, grass fed, right? That's what we're trying to get at, that these animals are grass fed. Because I know it's possible around where I live. I'm sure everywhere. Well, I'm sure if people go out and start, checking around, they could probably get much better food locally than these large mass-produced grain-fed. Here, I want to show you just that, since we're talking about the omegas. I'm going to pop up a screen again. There you go. You see this? Omega-6 vegetable oils as a driver for coronary heart disease. And, when they're always talking about the bad cholesterol, the LDL, what happens in this study, basically what they're saying is, if you're eating a high omega-6 diet and you're taking these vegetable oils, the LDL incorporate the omega-6 into their structure, and they become easily oxidized. And LDL isn't deadly in and of itself. The issue with LDL is that if you have inflammation, oxidation, high insulin levels from eating too often and too many carbohydrates. You have this very, very toxic, inflammatory, oxidized insulin levels, and everything. The vessels get damaged. First of all, before atherosclerosis occurs, you need to have damage to the actual vessel, because it's the process of trying to go and repair the damage that you'll start getting these plaques. And the LDL that are high in omega-3 within their actual structure are very, very resistant to oxidation. And people, even when you hear them talk about, here, I can pop that off. When you hear people talk about salt, that salt causes hypertension. And it's true in a certain condition. So if your vessels are already inflamed and puffy, already you're going to get a narrowing. Let's say you have 5 liters of blood, and all of a sudden now your vasculature is tightening up, your pressure is going to go up. Fluid follows salt. So if you already have hypertension because your vessels are all inflamed, and now you're eating a high salt meal, well, the salt in your vessels where the blood is will suck in more fluid, and now you have even more volume in these narrowed veins and vessels. So it's true that it will skyrocket up. But I've read that with a ketogenic diet, first of all, I don't know if it's the insulin level that is so much lower that it signals to your kidney to eliminate more sodium. Because my dad had hypertension, and everybody talks about the keto flu when you start it. There's a transition where you won't feel that well while your body's getting fat adapted. And there is a lot of water loss and electrolyte loss. So when people start the ketogenic diet, I would usually say, just don't go crazy, but put salt on your food. Don't be scared of the salt. Sometimes you can get some cramps in your, like Charlie horses. Take some magnesium, take some potassium if you want. So my dad lost a lot of weight, obviously eliminated the seed oils and all that. And he started, he was trying to walk and stuff, a little more exercise, and he felt like passing out. So I told him, I said, well, take your blood pressure. So he was still taking his high blood pressure medications, and he was eating a lot more salt, and he literally had to stop his high blood pressure medication because he didn't have high blood pressure anymore. So, it's completely, different, anyways, I just find it mind boggling because they'll say salt. So now you're avoiding salt. And there is some studies about salt that if you're salt deprived, it can increase addictive behaviors. It can, eventually your body is just going to demand salt. And then you're going to go scarf down junk food and potato chips, because that's usually where there's a lot of salt. And I think that the food industry are not stupid. They are keenly aware of the biochemistry, especially related to the brain and how these things can affect us. And yet then after, when it comes to the health, the health field, then it's like they're completely ignorant of it. It's like, no, there's some kind of deception being pulled on us, because it's completely, it just makes sense, and anyways, I find it super frustrating.
Well, I put a link to an article in the private chat there.
Okay.
Regarding the fact that it's pretty well established at this point that excess sugar in the blood, high blood glucose, excess blood glucose actually contributes more to high blood pressure than salt. And salt is one of the electrolytes that we require.
Yeah.
The sodium potassium pump. If you don't have, no one would ever think of demonizing potassium, but its counterpart, the sodium and the sodium potassium pump, that every cell in every muscle cell, even in the muscle cells in your heart. And that's why people will sometimes die of cardiac arrest when their salt gets too low. And people are being told to reduce salt when they should be told to reduce sugar and starch.
Yep.
And simultaneously to this lower your salt advice, people are being told to drink a predetermined amount of water even when they're not thirsty.
Which
And
further just causes more hyponatremia.
exactly. And that's associated with lower muscle mass. If you have chronic, if you're overhydrated and you have a lack of uh, electrolytes as a result of that,
Mm-hmm.
then that's associated with early mortality, um, high rates of falling for the elderly,
Mm-hmm.
lowered immune system, uh, lower muscle mass. So there's a large amount of our health issues that are probably being caused by this bad advice
Yeah.
to avoid salt at all costs and drink water when you're not thirsty.
No, exactly. Let's see if there's any questions because I saw Robert Cofford asking a couple of questions. So he's asking which oils resist turning rancid most. So what I usually do is I cook with rendered duck fat. So my opinion, I'll let the JD, say maybe if you have another opinion. Look, if you're going for the oils, I think avocado, and I'm just saying that because I saw it on the label, has a higher burning point. My opinion, I would never use any oils for cooking at all. Lard, rendered duck fat, any hydrogenated solid fat, which is not naturally hydrogenated, like rendered duck fat and stuff like that. I don't cook with any oils. And, olive oil, it's cold pressed. Nothing against olive oil. I wouldn't cook with it, but just keep in mind there has been studies because the corporations are so corrupt that even if olive oil is healthy, somebody did a study, I don't remember off the top of my head, and took all of these brands, very high quality brand olive oil, and sent them to labs. A lot of them were tainted with canola oil.
Yeah.
With some kind of seed oil. So again, even if you're trying to be healthy, getting olive oil and stuff like that, you're you never know at this point. The food is so corrupt. What's your answer, JD? Are you on the same page as me when he's asking which oils resist turning rancid the most?
Yeah, I'm on the exact same page as you. I use rendered duck fat and beef tallow. Rendered beef tallow.
Yeah, that's it. Here's mine. Rendered duck fat.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I just took that. If ever I use bacon and stuff like that, I'll keep actually the bacon fat also, not to waste it. Butter. Definitely the rendered duck fat. Like butter will still turn brown, eh? If you cook it, it'll burn up. I find pretty quickly. But the rendered duck fat, it's really the best that you should cook with. I'm just gonna scroll up just to see if there's other comments that we missed just quickly. I think Robert had another question and I wasn't sure too much about it. It was some kind of aloe question. Okay, well, here's one question. I'm popping it up on the bottom. What about complex mucopolysaccharides in aloe vera? Wow, I don't know what that is. Barbadanice. Do you know what that is? Robert, if maybe explain that a little more. Is that something you eat? Or is that something you rub on your skin? I'm not sure about that one.
It sounds like some type of sugar.
Yeah, the polysaccharide is definitely complex polysaccharides, like you said, that's a starch, right? Basically, it's a starch.
Yeah. Glucose, basically glucose.
Yeah, I'll let him maybe reinstate it.
Yeah, reword it perhaps.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know a lot of people that consume aloe vera.
Expands the blood
Of
vessels.
course, I can't imagine that there would be that aloe vera would be that dense a source of sugar.
I mean, I've heard it's good for the skin, like topically. Here he's asking, aloe vera expands the blood vessels and increases blood flow. Like just in general, plants and stuff, when they're talking about antioxidants and, they'll call them phytonutrients when in reality, there are no nutrients at all. They're phytochemicals, and most of them are defense mechanisms. A lot of the antioxidant effects are look, your body has a natural antioxidant pathway. So we use oxygen. Our body uses oxygen, and there's oxygen radicals that are produced. It's just a byproduct of the body using oxygen, and we can easily neutralize these just oxygen. Now, when you start adding oxidized material like these friggin' seed oils, it just overpowers our ability to neutralize it. And it's the same actually goes for oxygen. When I work in the intensive care unit, we breathe 21% oxygen, our mechanical ventilators or even oxygen devices, but it's more when we intubate and there's a tube in your lung and we're blowing 100% oxygen. If we get to 50 and above, that oxygen that may be required just because you have some lung pathophysiology that's so bad that your oxygen levels are low in your blood, so you have to boost up the amount that you're blowing into the lung. When we hit 50 and above, it causes oxygen toxicity. One of the aspects of that is that we're overpowering our natural capacity to neutralize that. I think that if you're avoiding all the seed oils, okay, you're not oxidizing the crap out of yourself with the middle section of the food store. You're not spiking your insulin chronically because you're eating so much sugar. Then whatever benefit they're saying about the aloe vera, how it expands vessels, your body will expand where it needs, and it'll constrict where it needs. The most important is just let the body do what it's supposed to do, and don't put in all this man-made crap. It's to put in perspective. At least in Canada, when we take the blood at the tip of the finger, it's in millimoles per liter. So let's say we have 5 to 6 liters of blood volume within our body. That's equivalent to just less than a teaspoon of sugar. So imagine your body likes less than just 4 grams, a teaspoon of sugar that is diluted within 5 to 6 liters of blood. That's what 5 millimoles per liter of sugar. Your body during fasting periods will maintain through gluconeogenesis using fats or protein to transform them into glucose to maintain that 5 millimoles per liter. 4 grams, okay? Let's say a teaspoon of sugar. Now, even if it's worse if it's a simple carb, like a quick acting carb. So you can just imagine you take, let's say, at least this is sugar free, but I'm probably poisoning myself with whatever artificial sugars in there. But you take a can of Coke, it's 40 grams. Okay. So your body loves 4 grams. All of a sudden you spike 40 grams. Okay. The insulin, your body considers that an emergency. It will spike.
That's 8 times more sugar than you should have in your bloodstream.
Exactly. So the insulin spikes up really fast to get that shit out of your bloodstream. Okay. Now, if you're eating complex carbs, the good carbs, right? It's still the same load. It's still the same amount of grams that your body eventually has to deal with. So it's the insulin that rots the crap out of you. Okay. In Toronto, Canada is where they first isolated bovine insulin. And ever since then, it's a big, I mean, it must make billions and billions per year of insulin. Prior to being able to isolate insulin and inject it, when people started having elevated blood sugars, the doctors used to say, stop eating sugar. Now they don't say that. Now they start just injecting insulin. And what diabetes basically is insulin resistance. If you're sniffing blow all day, okay, initially the first hit, you'll be high as a kite. If you keep on introducing cocaine chronically, or heroin, or any other drug, okay, your body becomes resistant. So you need higher and higher levels to get the desired effect. Insulin has a purpose. It says it knocks at the door when you ingest nutrients, so the cell opens the door and it can receive the nutrients and the energy that it needs. But if you're chronically eating high amounts of sugar, that also makes you hungry all the time, you're eating too much sugar and too often, your insulin basically never goes down to zero. And it's constantly knocking at the cell, open up, open up. Eventually, it's like a parent that yells at their kid. It doesn't listen anymore. So what basically happens now is they don't even call that diabetes. They only call it diabetes when your insulin resistant is so damn bad that now the sugar's starting to pile up. Then all of a sudden they call it diabetes. And then after, when you ask somebody what's diabetes, it's high blood sugar. It's like, no, that's not the main cause. That's a symptom of it. The main cause is insulin. And insulin, so now how do they treat diabetes? They inject more insulin to lower your sugar. It's like giving an alcoholic, comes in and says, you know what, the bottle of vodka doesn't cut it for me anymore. Oh, okay, well, I'll prescribe 2 bottles now. And that's why diabetics go, they go blind. They got wounds that never heal. They get amputations. They finally get dialysis. And because you're injecting insulin, it's an anabolic hormone. It's impossible to lose weight. So they blow up. They're all fat and on dialysis. Jason Fung is a Canadian nephrologist and he got a lot of flack for this. He's a nephrologist, and here he is looking at all his patients on diabetes and basically just monitoring their renal decline until they need dialysis, and then they die. Imagine being a physician that wants to help people, and basically you're not. You're just prescribing dialysis. So he developed in Toronto a fasting regime, and we're talking like within a month or 2, severe diabetes can be put into remission extremely quickly by a low carb diet and intermittent fasting. But there's no money in that. And a lot of physicians that are adopting that, I think now they're getting away with it. But the initial physicians that were trying to do this were actually getting disciplined. It was illegal to do that. So that's how corrupt it is. I work in the intensive care. It is disgusting. The bags that they feed the patients, you look on the side and it's just fructose, there's soybean oil in that stuff. And it's horrible because when you're intubated or you can't eat, you have this feeding tube and it's like a constant trickle. So, you're just always in an anabolic state. I wish that I was a doctor in research, because the patients in the intensive care unit, I would, especially if they had not if they had a low BMI, if they were frail, but these really fat patients, that's all we see, in our population. These guys can just be put fasted right away. I think that inducing ketosis in intensive care patients, first of all, would create that elimination of sodium, and it would have a natural diuretic effect. We're always pumping our patients with Lasix. Lasix is a diuretic, and it's hard on the kidneys, and it stimulates urine production. And I think what we feed these patients, it's just sugar and sugar and sugar. And I'm not saying my hospital. I'm saying all hospitals, because they follow the damn food guide, and the food guide is 60% sugar. Everything's margarine. Diabetics, they actually have sugar all over on their plate. And on top of it, most of them are on, for various reasons, on prednisone, because they're very ill. Prednisone is a glucocorticosteroid, so then they're on even more insulin. So they're on insulin, they're obese, They're intubated for weeks. They're not moving, and we're just pumping them with glucose. It's very hard to see. You know how they say ignorance is bliss. Let me just see if there's any more comments. Please, how do you... They're really on the aloe vera. I don't know much about it besides that it's good for the skin, I've heard. Too much of anything is bad for you, but a little bit of everything is good for you. What is not good in any amount is the plastic synthetic food they're trying to feed. Yeah, well, I think we all agree with the new synthetic food. I would say that too much of anything is bad for you. I agree. But a little bit of everything, no. I think that a little bit of some of this toxic shit you can get away with, but not a little bit of anything. But I agree. My last name. At this point, the clothes that we're wearing have synthetics that are activated with our heat. We're probably poisoning ourselves with this, with probably the whatever sugar-free thing this is in my thing, the plastics. Every deodorant has parabens and all sorts of stuff. Everything. We're just like living in a cesspool. But what makes me mad is we're talking about the seed oils, but you never hear that. No, then they're jumping on the red meat will rot your ass, rot your butthole, and it's like, where are they getting this crap? And it's like, but no one's talking about the soybean. That's big money, especially in Canada. I mean, that's, canola is a huge exporter and stuff like that. So, no one talks about it. The research is out there. And like I said, the research is out there, but the media, the government, corporations, they will give a platform to what's convenient for them. And the masses will just listen to it, repeating, and then they just believe it. It's quite shocking. Let's just go through another. Hello, exposing fake news. Organic raw honey. Yeah, but I mean, raw honey, you can't be scarfing that down. It at least it's natural. I think that it's definitely not toxic, but don't overdo it either. I mean, it is carbs, I guess, but like you said, for athletes, right? Strategically, it's fine to be using carbohydrates. We're not saying carbohydrates are toxic. I mean, our ancestors did use that to supplement their diet. But the idea of making this the majority of your food and then limiting the fat, limiting the amount of meat, having one egg, what's wrong with having 4, 5, 6 eggs today? It's just that's the problem. So JD, why don't we go into the nutrients that are not found in plants, where they talk about beta carotene. Beta carotene isn't really vitamin A, it's a precursor, vitamin D2, D3, all these things. Why don't you just talk a little bit about this? Because obviously, the new green agenda, it's going to be the future diet. They are going to be pushing this. Tell the people, we have 11 people watching, tell them what the difference between the nutrients in the plants and what's the difference in the nutrients in animal foods.
Well, you mentioned vitamin A, other B vitamins like B6, B12, vitamin D, D3, vitamin K2. You can get K1 from plants, but you can't get K2. K2 acts as an escort for things like calcium and magnesium. It escorts these minerals to the bones and the teeth so that they're deposited where they should be. And if there's no K2 in the diet, then the body will tend to distribute that calcium in places like in the joints or on the artery walls. Heme iron, of course, is found only in animal products. CoQ10.
So wait, let's talk about the heme iron. So plants have non-heme iron, right? And
Right.
animal food has heme iron. So what's the difference? Because let's say I'm a vegan, I'll be like, we can get iron from spinach and stuff like that. So what would you respond to a vegan that's saying this to you? There's iron in spinach, and what are you talking about, JD?
Well, when you talk about the iron that's in plants, you're talking about it's basically iron like you could. Of course, this is atomized iron, but it's basically the same thing that you would get if you filed a piece of steel, iron, and it's prone. It's kind of like the omega-6s. It's prone to oxidation, and so it basically rusts in your system, and it's very difficult to absorb, and it's also there's a lot of vegans out there that will promote the consumption of non-heme iron supplements, and they'll talk about the absorption rate of non-heme iron. However, it's not just a case of absorbing it, because what you've done is you've absorbed something that can actually cause damage if it's oxidized, but also it's not in heme form. So your body, until it can act, the whole reason you need iron is so that it can become part of your red blood cells.
Hemoglobin. It's even called that. The red blood, the oxygen carrying capacity of the red blood cell is hemoglobin.
Right. And so consuming non-heme iron, even if it's absorbed, it's still not in a form that can carry oxygen to oxygen-hungry tissues.
Mm-hmm.
And so the process of turning non-heme iron into heme iron, which vegans will never talk about, is actually an 8-step process that requires enzymes that are made of proteins that are often lacking in the vegan diet. So a vegan cannot easily turn non-heme iron into heme iron. It may not be possible for them to turn enough non-heme iron that's absorbed into heme iron. And if it can't be turned into heme iron, then it can't do its function of carrying oxygen to the tissues.
So I just want to, this one caught my eye. It just popped up. So Exposing Fakes is, he likes soya milk. So he's asking, is soya milk healthier than cow processed milk? I'm personally a soya person for the sweet taste that it has. So let's talk about, first of all, the soya compared to grass-fed, because I've tasted a difference between a kefir or kefir, grass-fed. Big difference. So I think that if you're comparing soya milk to regular full-fat non-processed milk, for sure milk is better, right? But what about cow's milk that's processed? Let's compare skim milk to the soya milk, which isn't milk. Okay. Don't call it milk.
Yeah, first of all, using that word milk, but also slipping that word processed in there. And I'll agree that some of these milks are processed, but the soya milk by default is also processed. So we are talking about processed soya milk compared to processed cow milk. First of all, the soya is likely tainted with glyphosate. So there's going to be a dangerous amount of pesticide that's going to be in that soya milk, that processed soya milk. In addition to that, the proteins that are in soya are primarily, plants do not make a lot of their structure from proteins. Their structure is made out of carbohydrates, versus like a human being, we use protein as structure. Our muscles being made out of protein, for instance, our skin, our hair, our fingernails made of structural proteins. The proteins that are in soya, a lot of them are defensive proteins. These are proteins that are part of the plant's defense against predation. And so they actually have a harming effect to the organisms that consume them. So in the soya milk, you're going to have a defensive proteins that are attacking the human biology, and you're also going to have pesticides like glyphosate that are going to be attacking the human biology.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, there's not going to be any of the vitamins, the essential nutrients.
Yeah. The fat soluble vitamins too. I mean, if you have actual real milk, there's fat in there. There's K2. You need, your fat soluble vitamins. I don't know where vegans get their fat soluble vitamins, since they're fat phobic about everything. And if they do get it, they will use the oils probably, and things like that. I have a video. I'm not going to play it. What I'll do is I'll share the screen and I'll just click through it instead of trying to find all these friggin' pop-ups on Google Scholar and stuff like that. There, you can see it, right?
Yes.
All right, and I've done that. This is the why is it ethical to eat animal source nutrition? The whole point that I'm trying to make in this specific video is this. Okay, if we could get every single thing that the human body needs, not only to be deficient, to thrive, then I would say, you know what, it's unethical then. If we can get it from all the plants, no problem. Yeah, we don't need food. We don't need animal food. But when you tell a vegan, look, it's straight human biology. The plant kingdom is missing all of these things. And it's like, it just goes like through their ears and over their head. And that's why it's ethical. It's like, it's unethical to make people nutritionally deficient, which causes all sorts of birth defects and health problems in the next generation. So you're basically, and it's false, so all of these other cultures were in nutrition and physical degeneration. Sally Fallon really continues that kind of the legacy of Weston A. Price in that respect. And cultures were very specific on what the mother would be eating prior to pregnancy. And a large part of it was actually organ meats. And nowadays, we have nutritional deficiencies, multiple generations, and we're wondering why autism rates are high, ADHD rates are high. There's even studies about.
Jason, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. There's even studies about omega-6 consumption. Now, this is an association. We can't prove causation, but as the omega-6 from the seed oils is rising in our diets, aggressive behavior and violence increases. So I'm just going to go through here and just look at some of the things that I'm popping up. So here's the bioavailability of micronutrients from plant foods. So deficiencies of iron, zinc, iodine, vitamin are widespread in developing countries. Poor bioavailability of these micronutrients from plant-based foods being the major reason for their wide prevalence. Diets predominantly vegetarian are composed of components that enhance as well as inhibit the mineral bioavailability, and the latter being much more prominent. Just fast forward to the next thing. Here, vitamin A, it's a fat-soluble vitamin that's stored in the liver, but there's two types of vitamin A that are found in our diet. There's preformed vitamin A, okay, retinol, is found in animal products such as meat, fish, poultry, dairy. And then after we have what the vegans call vitamin A, or what you'll even get when you take your vitamins, it'll be beta carotene, and they'll say that is vitamin A, and that's a pro vitamin A, and that's found in plant-based foods such as fruits and vegetables. See here, vitamin A is beta carotene. Now, when you look at the conversion rate of beta carotene, or the absorption rate, so you're eating all this beta carotene, okay? You're eating all these carrots. So the beta carotene from plant sources ranges from 5% to 65% in humans, meaning some humans, okay, can only absorb beta carotene 5% of it. So imagine you're a long-term vegan for various reasons. I don't know if it's genetically or your intestinal tract health, whatever, but the absorption, what if you're only absorbing 5% and you're trying to be an ethical vegan, okay? You're going to have a serious vitamin A deficiency. And if you're a mother that's been a long time vegan, you happen to, even if you're absorbing at 65%, you're losing half of the vitamin A that you're consuming. Now, if a mother has vitamin A deficiency, the child can have serious, among other things, but especially vision abnormalities. They've done tests where vitamin A, they've purposely not fed pigs vitamin A, and the offspring don't have eyes. So we see that there's a large discrepancy. Vitamin A deficiency can result from inadequate intake, fat malabsorption, or liver disorder. Deficiency, it can impair your immunity, and causes rashes and typical ocular defects. That's like retinol is vitamin A, retina. You see like how important animal food, like heme iron, we've even named hemoglobin after it. Retinol, vitamin A from animal foods, we've named our retina, like it's important in animal food. So here we are, we're getting these vitamin A supplements. This is never a vitamin made from animal sources. This is vitamin made from beta carotene, and you're going to take 8,000 units of vitamin A, and you might be only getting 5% of that. And this is like not secret, secret knowledge. Okay. This isn't like secret society knowledge, people. This, the government knows that. And any vegan who's honest, that, I mean, if I was going vegan, I long-term, I'd make sure, like, that's what I did when I was doing keto. I was like, okay, this is a high fat diet, so I better do my research. I don't want to do something stupid. Is it ethical to eat animals? I want to just fast forward here. Here's the other one. This is an important one. So the use of alpha linoleic acid. Okay, these are the omega-3 essential fats that are required, that are found in all animal foods in a nicer ratio. Especially fish tend to have higher omega-3 percentages. So the chia seeds, that's what the vegans use, these seeds and stuff like that. And they say, well, that's our, we can get omega-3 from this. It's ALA. Okay, so look at what this study says. ALA labeled with radioisotopes suggested that with a background diet high in saturated fat, first of all, forget about that. Okay, they're using chia seeds. They are not consuming high saturated fat. So this is if you're consuming these chia seeds with saturated fat, the conversion to the long chain metabolites approximately 6% for EPA and 3.8% for DHA. When you're eating animal food, you're getting EPA and DHA. Okay, but the plant omega-3s, they again must be converted, and you're losing, in the case of EPA, 94% of it is not going to be converted. And look at DHA. So we're looking at well under 10% on both sides. However, with a diet rich in polyunsaturated omega-6 oils, that everybody has a rich diet, okay, of that, unfortunately, the conversion, chop it by 50%. So now these vegans think that they're getting their omega-3 with the chia seeds, but they're getting 6 to 3.8% conversion for EPA and DHA. And you can even half that if they're a vegan that are clueless and they're cooking with oils in their pan and stuff like that, or eating all the middle section, right? The vegans, they're going to go after the Triscuits. They're going to go after all of these other middle section foods. And these things are all full of seed oils. So you might end up getting seriously deficient in EPA and DHA, which is besides the B12 issue. You should see, just go on YouTube, vegan brain fog. You're just going to see solutions for vegan brain fog everywhere.
Jason, I've linked a video that I made on the subject that you're just talking about. That will be, I think, a pretty good addendum to what you just.
Perfect. I'm gonna go quickly through this. But due to the realities of modern times, a large number of plant-based eaters aren't getting specific nutrients from plant foods, and failure to get these nutrients can have serious consequences. Yes, okay, we're aware of the B12. That's the only one that they talk about. Here, I just popped up one egg, so if you're, Michelle, when you go back up, can you just plug the phone in? Oh, okay. Just when you go on. Yeah, so here's one egg, so you have a couple of eggs. Each egg is 10% of your daily requirement for vitamin A. See, this is a real superfood, eggs, okay? It blows most of the, superfoods of plants out. This here is something I noticed when I was on the ketogenic diet. I was, avoiding all those seed oils. I was eating a lot more omega-3s purposefully. And I noticed that I was out in the sun all day and I was never getting a bad sunburn. I wasn't wearing any cream or anything like that. And I was like, what the hell? And I did know that I was purposely not eating omega-6. And I did understand that oxidized in heat and light. So I started scratching my head and I started looking up, in the community. And a lot of people in the carnivore and keto community were talking about, wow, like I can last a long time out in the sun. So I used to wonder, it's really weird that white people, we live on Earth and we're literally, we can't live without these creams. And all of these sun creams, they have all sorts of different chemicals, parabens and stuff like that lower testosterone.
Well, they have photocarcinogens.
Okay, see?
Chemicals that cause cancer when exposed to the sun.
This is what you were talking about, the K1 and K2. K1 works. K1 is basically helps for coagulation. Okay, but K2, like JD had mentioned previously, among other things, and Weston A. Price was big on this K2. It tells the body, among other things, where calcium should go. So you're not getting K2. The only place I think that vegans can get K2 is fermented soybean or fermented soy or something like that. And I doubt any of them are eating that. What else? Zinc in plants, sometimes bound to phytates. You've talked about anti-nutrients, the oxalates, the phytates. Here, raw spinach contains an inhibitor called oxalic acid or oxalate. Oxalic acid naturally binds with minerals like calcium and iron, making them harder for your body to absorb. Cooking spinach can help unlock these iron absorption inhibitors and hence increase. So, a lot of people are like these raw vegans. This guy, the messiah of veganism,
sure.
Dr. Greger. So this is a doctor that is not really a doctor. He didn't finish his residency and he went immediately into basically vegan activism. He's never treated one person. He's written books, The Daily Dozen, How Not to Die. and look at this guy's body composition. I think this guy's my age. I think he's 43 in this picture. Oh yeah, here. So this was me at 35. This was my picture on my license, and then this was me at 40 after doing ketogenic diet. So maybe I'm delusional, but I look actually younger 5 years later than I did when I was 35, just eating, a typical diet, skin, complexion, everything. Here's the protease inhibitors, widely distributed among plants, especially in seeds. There's all sorts of anti-nutrients, tannins, class of antioxidants, polyphenols that may impair the digestion of various nutrients. Okay, that's enough of that one there. We don't have to go through all of it. JD, you said that you also had something for me to share.
Yeah, it's a video about the
Okay, I got it.
The ALA. The vegans will say, well, you're not getting any DHA or EPA, so just take this flaxseed oil, and it's got ALA, and you can convert ALA into DHA, and it turns out that ALA has we don't use that for anything, and the conversion rate is super low. So the video that I left you there in the private chat, I wanted to share with the audience.
Sure.
The graphs and everything kind of help people visualize the things that you were explaining earlier.
Okay, I'm gonna pop it up. We'll go for, we're gonna have to do multiple streams because there's so much that we can talk about. I can do probably another half an hour, 25 minutes. Not to make it too long. And we're just gonna have more like regular popping on, and we'll just gradually go through more and more topics, because we're never going to get through the digestive tract of ruminant animals. We're never going to get through appropriate regenerative farming techniques.
There's no way we could do it.
There's too much, which is fine. I rather have you on more often, for sure. Obviously the family just got back home. Let me know if because I'm not going to tell them to not make noise there. Tell me if ever there's too much noise. I don't think there should be noise, though. It should be okay. Give me a sec. Let me pop up yours.
It is well established and accepted amongst the global scientific community that the predominant eating pattern amongst those disease-riddled peoples of the developed world
I didn't put it on.
Shifted.
It's not up there.
Okay. Give me a sec.
From a healthier, more balanced. It is well established.
It's not on. It did say share screen. Give me a second. Okay. Present. Share screen. Yeah. You know what? It's doing what it did once, where it was. Yeah. It's done this in the past where it doesn't allow me to do it for now.
Interesting.
Yeah, it happened last time. Eventually, I just what I'll do is I'll click it out, and I'll try and just redo it. Yeah, see, the browser can't access your screen. Try capturing a different screen to see if this continues. It did it on one of the live stream, and just as it stopped eventually, and then I was able to paste.
established and accepted amongst the
I'll let it play
global
this way
scientific
first there
community
while we're
that
trying.
the predominant eating pattern
'Cause you can hear it,
amongst
right?
those disease
Yes.
Okay.
as well.
I'll try it one more time. Share
Well,
screen.
you've got the family there right now. If you need to wrap it up, we can do that, and we can just continue on the next one.
Yeah, well, like as long as I'm done when they're walking, like when Michelle's going upstairs, she probably has like another 10, 15 minutes, and then when she walks up, then we'll go watch next Netflix or something. But okay, let's continue going through. So the plant-based diet doesn't have B12, first of all, right? And I know that even the B12 that they try and get doesn't really, they have trouble, right? Like some of them even get B12 injections and they still have low B12. So you got the B12.
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
Let me explain the B12 situation real quick.
Okay.
Is there are two types of B12 that are common in our diets, and the first one is the one that's bioactive in humans is called methylcobalamin.
Yeah.
And the B12 that most people get in supplement form is called cyanocobalamin. And cyanocobalamin is not bioactive in human beings. And every source that I can find on the conversion rate from cyanocobalamin to methylcobalamin says that at best, and this is in the healthiest adults, 10% of any cyanocobalamin could be converted into the bioactive methylcobalamin.
Okay.
But in infants and in the elderly, the conversion rate is less than 1%.
It's crazy.
So a lot of these B12, there it is. You ready?
You want to, well, finish the B12 and then I'll start this.
A lot of these B12, they call them B12 analogs.
Mm-hmm.
They will register as B12 on a blood serum test, and it'll tell the doctor that there's plenty of B12 in bloodstream, but none of it is bioactive. None of it is actually doing the job.
It's just floating around the blood, but it's not going into the tissue.
Yeah,
right?
Well, it can actually go into the cells. It can actually go into the B12 receptor, but it doesn't do the job. It's like it's like if a cardboard cutout of Jason John Schwartz went to work, it would not do the job of a respiratory therapist.
Yeah.
It would look like you, but it's not you.
No, that's it. And that's like most of these vitamins, when you look at it, right? It says daily amount. And I was like, once I started finally understanding like what real vitamins were, I don't take these stupid vitamins and stuff like that. They're all like just plant molecules. Okay, so you want me to do this one before it doesn't work?
Yeah, let's watch it.
Okay.
It is well established and accepted amongst the global scientific community that the predominant eating pattern amongst those disease epidemic riddled peoples of the developed world has shifted rather dramatically from a healthier, more balanced intake of omega-3 fatty acids and omega-6 fatty acids to one that is way out of balance, way too heavy in omega-6s, which causes excessive levels of systemic inflammation, which has been implicated in many of the chronic diseases now suffered by seed oil consuming populations. In fact, Canada was the first country to adopt guidelines to reduce consumption of omega-6 fatty acids and increase consumption of omega-3 fatty acids, with a target ratio of at least 6 omega-6s for every 1 omega-3. However, not all omega-3 fatty acids are created equal. There are 3 dietary compounds that enjoy the honor of being called omega-3 fatty acids: EPA, DHA, and ALA. EPA and DHA are sourced from animal-derived foods, especially fatty fish like salmon, and have been found to play a major role in proper fetal development, healthy cardiovascular function, and cognitive function. Seed oil ALA, on the other hand, is not bioactive and serves no function in human biology. Instead, its only claim to fame is that it is promoted as a precursor molecule to EPA and DHA. In fact, misanthropic vegans will often promote flaxseed oil, which is relatively high in ALA, as a good source of omega-3s. However, what these misanthropic vegans harboring a desire to harm will not tell you about is the abysmal conversion rate of seed oil ALA into the bioactive and essential EPA and DHA in humans. Human studies have shown that conversion of ALA to EPA and DHA is severely restricted. This study here shows that with a background diet high in saturated fat, conversion is approximately 6% for EPA and 3.8% for DHA. In fact, with a diet rich in omega-6 fatty acids like we see in disease-riddled developed nations, this horrible conversion rate is reduced by another 40 to 50%. What this translates to is the fact that seed oil ALAs, such as we find in flaxseed oil, because of the very poor conversion rates into DHA and EPA, are not at all a viable source of DHA and EPA, and instead primarily serve as just another source of empty calories for populations who are already suffering from the global obesity epidemic. So keep your eye out for bad actors peddling flaxseed oil. They're not looking out for your best interest. If you liked this content, please consider liking and
Yeah, so that's the same study, but you had it in a graph, eh? The 3.8 and the 6%. I hope people believe it now when two people like are saying the exact same thing here.
Right.
No, that's the thing. Like people, they're like, why are you so like? Why do you hate them so much? And so it's like it's because it really is making people sick. You know what I mean? And it's like vegans have existed for a long time. But especially in the 60s, I guess, when maybe before, but in the 60s, when a lot of the Eastern religions started infiltrating during Woodstock and stuff like that, a lot of this veganism started going there, but it wasn't mainstream. I mean, I don't think that the population, I'd like to know like how much of the population, they're not going, let's say, vegan necessarily, but a lot of people are going plant-based, right? A lot of people are drastically reducing the animal food that they're eating, maybe not going completely vegan, but definitely they've been brainwashed, and they're eating all of these plant foods, thinking that they're superfoods, and it's just a waste of time. Really, it's just a waste. And they're not going to get healthy. And when people, when I look at the next generation that are the current generation is malnourished from the other one, but this generation is going to be even more malnourished with this plant-based agenda. This is increasing human suffering. And then if you mix this, because now we have malnourished next generation that are going to have mental illness, that are going to have behavioral issues, that are going to probably have more susceptibility to all sorts of diseases. And then after you mix that with the lie that if you eat animals, you're killing animals, which we acknowledge, but if you eat plants, you're not harming a damn thing. that's another complete live stream that we can have, like really just concentrating on the amount of wild animals that are chopped up, murdered, at least even in probably like, let's say, the unethical meat industry areas. Okay, they're still dying way faster than an animal that is taking an anticoagulant, a heparinized or Coumadin or warfarin, whatever, some kind of anticoagulant pesticide, and have to bleed out over 2 weeks or something like that. Or an animal that is getting shot, like just pepper sprayed with bullets by a farmer on his four-wheeler while somebody's in the back just shooting, I guess, areas where there's wild boars or stuff like that. Do you think that they go and finish them off? They just shoot them, and some of them probably don't die and just suffer and stuff like that. I think it's like people are so disconnected from the reality of nature, because we're like whales in marine land right now. You can't let us in the wild, or else we won't know what the hell we're doing. But people are so like soft-hearted now, and oh well, I feel bad for the animals and stuff like that, when they don't realize that everyone has blood on their hands. And in fact, if you really want to be ethical about things, then you know what? Go to a local farmer or raise one cow and for your family, slaughter that thing. That's one death. You got meat for the whole year, and you can have chickens, 12, 24 chickens, all you want. Take care of them and protect them from, predators, get eggs. And if you do have to kill them, it's like, it's done. If you were really homesteading or eating locally and buying really like a whole cow or a whole pig, a whole lamb, and stocking that in your freezer for your family, you have less than you have more fingers than you would have death. And these vegans that are eating all of these plants think that they're more spiritual, when they indirectly have maybe even more suffering, because these animals are getting chopped up, like you said, by harvesters and getting poisoned. And I'll let you talk about it, but like, what about all this mining that we, you've showed me in the past, like the ecological destruction of having to mine certain minerals or something for plant industry? Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, yeah, when you talk about crop agriculture, there's these three letters, NPK: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And these are soil amendments that must be sprinkled or sprayed onto the fields that grow the soybeans and the corn and the potatoes, etc., the apples and the pears and the peaches and the cherries.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be fertilized, and nature's way of doing that is with herds of animals like buffalo and antelope and deer and elk and moose. But the vegan menu is being supplied by an industry that wants to shun livestock and be 100% reliant upon fertilizers that come from, the nitrogen part of that comes from, they pull nitrogen from the atmosphere, but they have to use large amounts of petroleum to do that. And they use natural gas, which is methane. And they've actually found that the methane emissions from nitrogen fertilizer factories are 3 times higher than all other industrial manufacturing combined. So it's actually, it eclipses any methane that would be coming from the cattle industry by far. So that's that's a petroleum reliant nitrogen fertilizer. And then you've got phosphorus and potassium. The phosphorus comes from destructive phosphate mines, and the potassium comes from destructive potash mines. And both of those types of minings, if you look into it, are extremely destructive. They're causing massive pollution of the aquifers that people are getting their drinking water from. It's leaking radioactive waste into the aquifers. It's causing runoff into local tributaries and streams. It's a huge contributor to oceanic dead zones and red tides, and leaving our beaches and leaving them stinky, where people can't enjoy them, and killing manatees and dolphins washing up onto the shore because there's no oxygen in the water because of these harmful algae blooms that are caused by these synthetic and mined fertilizers being washed off into the waterways when it rains. It's
So what we should have is like a combination, right, of ruminant animals and agriculture, and then have like the ruminant animals, let's say for whatever, a year or two, or for a certain amount of period, doing their thing there, and then after switching and just keep on rotating and try and mimic the natural ecological cycle that God created. Is that kind of the direction we should be going?
Absolutely. There's a farmer by the name of Gabe Brown.
Okay.
In the United States, and he's probably the one farmer that I can think of that has really mastered that system that you just described, where they don't do any monocropping. Everything is a polycrop. There's always at least 3 different species of plant being grown, because they found that the monocrops are what actually draws in these pest insects and so forth that are requiring the pesticides. And when you do polycrops, there's a synergistic relationship that exists between multiple plants, where the pests are actually naturally defended against. And so he'll plant cover crops. He'll keep the soil. He doesn't do any tilling, so he's not going in and destroying the soil horizons.
Yeah, that's it. People don't realize, the tilling, I mean, I know not in depth, but enough to understand that the topsoil or the soil itself is like a complex microcosm of like billions of different microbiotas, as well as animals living in there, and it's alive, and if we don't use ruminant animal and smart grazing and regenerative farming, we're gonna these artificial chemicals are not it's not gonna last. It's gonna destroy the soil, and we're really we're dead without real soil. We're actually dead without ruminant animals. And when I understood that, it was almost like, imagine we're all here, and this huge rake just plows out of the sky and just goes here and just starts ripping through the hospitals and the houses and the people. And that's what tilling is. It's unnatural. And I feel like they're the adults taking care of us, the elites or whatever, this few entrepreneurs, the World Economic Forum, just a handful of mega corporations, a handful of very corrupt and rich people. They're completely aware of this, and we're all being deceived. They understand that plant agriculture, the way it is now is extremely destructive, but they're playing the narrative that it's great, it's healthy, it's sustainable. They're doing that with the diet, with the green, eat plant-based. They're doing this with the new green agenda that's completely going to like suffocate all farmers. I'm sure they're definitely going to reduce as much as possible the amount of ruminant animals that are going to be part of our diet. They're going to do the cell culture thing, and people are buying into that, and like Bruce, even, he had heard about it, and the majority of people will be like, "Oh, well, like if we can grow meat, in a lab, like great, we don't have to kill any cows." And it's like meat is not just a slab of muscle, it's not just protein. It's complex. There's creatine, there's creatine. There's a taurine. There's cholesterol. There's fat. There's the vitamins. Like these animals that we eat, they're living beings. They've absorbed, like you said, if you're feeding them grain, they're going to have like high omega-6. These are complex, foods with like a list of natural components in there, not ingredients, natural components. And again, the majority of the population just think like, oh, meat, you can get protein. And it's like, no, it's not just protein. And those lab grown cell cultured crap if there are going to be any fats in there, they're going to again be these seed oils. It's going to be omega-6 plant fats or something in there. So, I mean, there's a huge deception, and it's being played on everybody. And, I don't know. It feels like even if we tell people, I feel like we're almost screwed or something. It's like, it feels like they're like, do you have hope for the future? Because I'm very, very pessimistic. Like you can tell as many people right now to eat, but I have a feeling that I won't be able to do homesteading. I feel that the local farmers soon they're going to be squashed out. I feel that the chickens that I have now, I won't be allowed by laws. Like there'll be bylaws saying no danger for avian flu and all this stuff. I feel like there's a huge horrible deception that's being played, and I'm unfortunately very pessimistic about the future. I feel like tell as many people to delay it as possible. What do you think about like what's happening? Do you think like we're headed for a dystopia, or are you more pessimistic, more optimistic than me?
It depends on what time of day you ask me that question, what my answer will be as far as my level of pessimism.
Yeah.
I try to stay optimistic, to be honest with you, just for my own mental health, really. But we certainly are facing a danger of the powers that be hedging us into a situation where the environment is in the global ecology is going to be destroyed at an exponential rate because of the very harmful nature of mainstream crop agriculture that they want us all to be dependent upon. I actually have run across some World Economic Forum speakers that were touting the wonderful benefits of regenerative ruminant grazing programs and using ruminant manure and urine in a rotational grazing system. I do know that there are elements within that group that are promoting the right way to do it. Mm-hmm. Getting rid of the concentration camp feeding facilities, the CAFOs, the grain feeding operations would not be a bad thing, actually.
For sure.
We can feed the world with a regenerative ruminant grazing system. I mean, take for instance here in the United States, we've got about 600 million acres of corn and soybean, where the soil is being basically mined, and it's destroying the soil.
Yeah.
We could take a good portion of that and turn it into rotational ruminant, regenerative rotational ruminant grazing systems, and easily feed the people. You know, if we were to replace those harmful
while healing the earth by, you know, creating actual soil, and you know, you can explain on another video about the sequestering carbon. Just before, in case Robert, because Robert here asked a question. Hopefully that was a question that he asked prior to what we talked about, but he was asking, walnuts are high in omega-3. What about oil? He's like, still bad. Well, yeah, because the walnut is, like you said, is ALA. You're not getting omega-3 really from that walnut. And again, oil, you're asking a question. Robert, oil is bad.
The omega-3s that are in walnuts are not bioactive in human beings.
Exactly. They're ALA, like we showed. So no, you're not getting any.
You cannot honestly say that there are omega-3s when you're talking about the kind of omega-3s that are bioactive in human beings. Then it's not correct. It's false to say that any type of plant, nut, or anything has got bioactive omega-3s for humans. They're just an empty calorie is all it is.
Yeah. Graze and grow it yourself. I'm just looking at some of the Matt. It's why grazers have to eat so much grass to get enough nutrients. They have 4 stomach compartments to get all nutrients out of the grass.
Okay, let me explain.
Yeah, go ahead, because I know you can go into detail.
Let me quickly debunk that. The when a ruminant is eating grass, it's not eating grass as food for the cow. The cow is eating grass to serve as food for microorganisms, primarily bacteria. It turns out that bacteria are single-celled organisms. Those cells are made of the same atoms and molecules that animal cells are made out of. And so the first 3 chambers of a cow's stomach is there to cultivate a population of bacteria. The cow is farming microorganisms the same way that we farm cows. That 4th chamber of the cow's stomach is a hydrochloric acid chamber. And so all of those microorganisms are dumped into that hydrochloric acid chamber and killed and digested and then assimilated into the cow's biology. So there's such a large mass of bacteria and other microorganisms that are dumped into that hydrochloric acid chamber that it's similar in size to, say, a jackrabbit.
Mm-hmm.
So the cow is a grass-fed cow is actually on a ketogenic diet, except whenever it's eating grass that has just seeded out.
Isn't it like 80% or something fat or something? The macronutrients, if you would break it down, I think I've seen that. Is it close to that or something?
It could be. I haven't actually done the math on that, but we know that the cell walls are just like our cell walls.
Yeah.
Our cell walls are made of bilipid.
Mm-hmm.
These lipids are what make the cell walls waterproof, so that the cell can actually control what's coming in and out. So the phospholipid bilayer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's lots of lipid molecules in a bacterial cell.
Okay. We have Anolfo Lantigua. Sorry if I didn't say your name correctly. Hopefully, animal agriculture will end soon in my lifetime. Hopefully, buddy. I don't know. Hopefully, this is somebody that just came in now and has no clue what the stream is about. The rest of the comments are pretty good. Matt seems to really know his stuff. I spoke with a farmer who allows weeds to grow alongside his plants, just making sure they are always lower than the desired plants, probably he means. Is there a benefit to that?
Yeah, I think that there are. One of the ways that plants, crops receive, if it's done correctly, nitrogen, for instance, is by the bacteria that have a synergistic relationship with the roots of other plants and a polycrop or a natural environment.
Yeah.
And so in nature, you won't ever find a monocrop.
Yeah.
And it's the monocrop that is so addicted to all the pesticides and the synthetic fertilizer, et cetera. So a lot of these, what will be called weeds, and really a weed, what is the definition of a weed? A weed could be anything. If there's a pecan tree growing in your front yard and you don't want it there, by definition, that's a weed. And so anything that the way nature has been created is that whatever is needed whatever the soil needs, that's what will grow easily there. And that's why a lot of regenerative farmers will not kill weeds, but will allow them to take root and provide to the soil what they're there to provide. For instance, in one of my fields, I have a lot of mesquite trees that are taking root. Well, mesquite trees are nitrogen fixing. And so they'll actually provide nitrogen to the soil so that the plants that I really want to be growing there for the foraging will be growing. So
we have a troll here. We have Anolfo. I'll call him Alfalfa. It's easier to pronounce. Humans are animals too. And herbivores, by the way, JD. The hell are you talking about?
Okay, if humans are herbivores, do we have a functioning rumen or do we have a functioning cecum? A lot of vegans will tell you that we have a
little words. You're using way too big words for him, man. You got to talk. No, go ahead. I'm just teasing.
No, I want to see him eat a cicatrope.
He doesn't know that that's a turd.
Yeah.
I said at one point I got into one of my I think maybe he's going to be my second troll. I had another one Veganix or something. Was what was he saying? He was basically saying pretty much the same thing. You end up talking to these people, and like you said, this guy probably didn't even listen to the stream. He just popped up late. But humans are animals too. Oh yeah, it was the spiritual. When the eating meat is on spiritual because you're eating death. That argument. So I said, well, okay. So I was trying to explain to Veganix. I was like, I went slowly. I was like, okay, so what's soil made of? And he just said the potassium, phosphorus, or what the three minerals that you mentioned.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's
not. I was trying to get to the organic matter, So I was like, okay, so if we're eating death by eating animals that are slaughtered, then the ground is basically piss, shit, and dead organic matter, animals included, and us included if we were still in the wild. So in a way, they're eating piss, shit, and applesauce, and this here, humans are animals. Wait, humans are animals too. Okay, so then why don't you like jump off a building because you're a bird, obviously too. Um, it's so stupid. Go visit your the fishies downstairs. See how long you last underwater. Herbivore isn't the same as ruminant. Okay, go ahead, JD. This guy's schooling you. So herbivore isn't the same as a ruminant.
Well, let's look at the scientific field of mammalogy. Humans are mammals, and in the science of mammalogy, we know that there are two types of herbivores. You have the foregut fermenters and you have the hindgut fermenters. The foregut fermenters have a functioning rumen. A functioning rumen means you've got a four-chambered stomach. If you don't have a functioning rumen and you're a mammal herbivore, then that means that you are a hindgut fermenter, which means you have a functioning cecum. A functioning cecum comes after the stomach, the real stomach, the hydrochloric acid chamber, which means that whatever you're going to create there has to be passed like a poop and eaten, which is why mountain gorillas will eat cecotropes.
Mm-hmm.
They somehow know when they're pooping a butt cookie, and they'll catch it before it even hits the ground, and they'll turn around and eat it. So a vegan is not a real primate, mammal, herbivore with a functioning cecum unless they are eating their cecotropes.
Mm-hmm.
If Anolfo Lantigua is eating his cecotropes, then I wish he would please film it and post that video to his YouTube channel so that we can all witness how a vegan consumes natural sources of B12.
Yeah, but JD, Alfalfa says if humans were omnivores, we would be able to eat the animal while the heart is still beating. That is the biggest lie. Now, first of all, if you go see, the last one that I saw was Matt Walsh's "What Is a Woman," where he goes to Kenya and he's asking a question, "What a woman is," and they slaughter the animal right away. And they cut it open, they cut a piece of the kidney and they hand it to him. And he ate it right away. The other thing is, okay, let's go with your logic. Okay. If humans were omnivores, we would be able to eat the animal while the heart is still beating, which they do. It's just that you don't know anything about other cultures. So I hope this works. So tell me, since here we go. Perfect. So that's your excuse. So tell me, are you guys born with freaking blenders? Look at all these. Do you see the screen? Did it at least pop up? So it's there, right? You can see it, JD?
I can see it, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So all of these vegans, every single vegan, okay, makes a smoothie bowl. Okay. It's just, if I punch in vegan juicing, so what, we naturally had our blenders and juicers back in the wild. Come on, Alfalfa. Vegan smoothies. They're disgusting colors usually. 7 healthy vegan smoothies. So vegans are obsessed with smoothies and juicing. That's all they freaking do. So not a real good excuse, Alfalfa. Down with Anulfa. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Matt is at our defense. Let's see what else. The evolution of the human trophic level during the Pleistocene. He's not going to look. Those are big words even for me, dude. Like butt cookie. Let's keep it simple. Psychotrope butt cookie. Let's talk like we're in kindergarten. Okay. Humans thrive eating only plants and some fungus. Okay. You're right. You can get omega-3 from algae too. They always do this. They never look at the stream. Like we just went through the whole ALA, the bioavailability of it, and they pull this stupidity.
Here, I'm going to post in the private chat a link to a study where they discovered that vegans eat more ultra processed food than any other group of eaters.
Go ahead.
And so if veganism was natural, then why are they relying on all of these processed foods?
Mhm.
Why can't they live without processed foods? Why can't they live without all of these pills and supplements?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's I don't know. Like it's almost not even worth responding. Obviously, we know the person didn't look at this. I'm just popping it up because I don't know, it's amusing. I am in the best shape of my life after 8 years of veganism. Dalai Lama coming to the defense of reality. Alfalfa, happy you are, but I don't think it's the same for everyone. You're being too kind. I had stomach and digestive problems. Wow, I did not know that about microbiology. I think that was being, well, I could be, but people need to get more informed about their food choices.
You're doing it wrong, he said.
Yeah. No, he didn't say that for real, did he?
Oh, no, but that's basically
That's
what
what they always say. No, I was going to say, are you serious? That's so cliche. Okay. Also, chia seed and flax seeds have omega-3. Like is it even worth popping it up, or are we wasting our time with this person?
Well, let's ask him to tell us. Anofo, will you please tell us, are the omega-3s in flax seeds, are they bioactive in human beings?
Of course they are, he'll say. I'm going to try and find it on my video that I did, just so I don't have to Google everything again. Where is this stupid? See, this was a discussion that.
For example, when zinc.
Just a minute. I just want to pop just the ALA one. If I can find it. Can't believe I'm wasting my stream time with a vegan. Okay, there we go. All right, so open your eyes, alfalfa. Open them wide, because you're probably vitamin A deficient because you're using only beta carotene that's only converted 5 to 65% into public. All right. Is it there, the screen?
Yes, it's there.
All right. Okay, alfalfa. The use of alpha-linoleic acid labeled with radioisotopes, I know it's a big word, just continue, suggested that with a background diet high in saturated fats, conversion to long-chain metabolites is approximately 6% for EPA and 3.8% for DHA. So ALA stands for alpha-linoleic acid. That is exactly what you were talking about, the chia seeds, the flaxseed oil. What we're trying to tell you is that you think you're getting the omega-3s, but all of the stuff that you're eating, you're only absorbing or converting it 6% for the EPA and 3.8 for the DHA. And if your diet is high, yeah.
Jason.
Yeah.
Please put that back up on the screen.
Okay.
This is important to realize about those numbers. Is that 6% and that 3.8%, that's for people who are eating a lot of saturated fat.
Yeah. See, saturated fat.
Just underneath that, which describes the vegan diet, which is rich in omega-6s, and the conversion rate is reduced by another 40 to 50%.
So that
for
becomes
vegans,
3%.
the conversion from ALA to EPA is 3%, and for the conversion for vegans from ALA to DHA is less than
Like
2%.
1.75, 1 point, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And over here, before we go, it doesn't matter what you say, though. They'll still, I want to just show the beta carotene one, wherever that is. Vitamin A, here. Okay. The absorption of beta carotene from plant sources ranges from 5% to 65% in humans. Okay. So what we're saying is, let's say you've been 8 years. Okay. Now you convince somebody else. Okay. Maybe you're lasting 8 years. By the way, I don't believe you, but 65%, maybe you're a 65% converter. Maybe you eat so many carrots that maybe if we popped you up and you joined the live stream, you'd look orange. But the point is that a lot of people in the population will be duped into this stupid diet of veganism, and maybe they're very poor converters. So they're going to have a vitamin A deficiency that is very serious for their health.
But
so
what I'm wondering about those numbers, Jason, is that is the absorption rate.
Yeah.
It's not talking about the conversion rate. The conversion rate is also going to be less than 100%.
Yeah. No, exactly. Let's see. We have 8 people. Alfalfa says, well, actually, that was not my problem. I am a freak when it comes to doing things. Obviously. Keep your bedroom talk to yourself. I have my own garden, only produce around 15% of my monthly calories. Is not much but is a start. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a garden. You'll never be able to feed your family or yourself with a garden. Not to mention it. Imagine if we all adopted this vegan ideology, and now there's no more ruminant animals, and everything is monocropped. And then all of a sudden, the environment, the climate disasters start. You're going to have droughts or flooding. We would lose all our food. And what people don't understand, even the people that aren't vegan, is that the ruminant animal is eating stuff that is completely useless to us. We don't do anything with it. So they take all of this grass that we can't do anything with, and they literally create food. They're like nutrient amplifiers. The nutrients aren't there. We can't use it. It passes through a cow. All of a sudden it has everything that humans need to thrive.
Could you back up and put that previous statement back up there? I wanted to address
the garden one.
Yes. First of all, every garden has a season. No garden is producing food 365 days per year. Every geographical location that's got a garden is going to have a seasonal window where it can produce food. The other thing is that vegans think that all humans need is calories. They don't know anything about micronutrients, essential vitamins, essential minerals. They think that if the calories are covered, then the human being is going to be okay. So that statement right there is typical vegan blabber. It doesn't mean anything other than someone who is probably a misanthrope, has picked up some talking points from Earthling Ed, is lying about he's been vegan for 8 weeks. He's going to tell everyone it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
the vegan population is what, 2% of the population, and every year there's 80% of that 2% drops off and has to be resupplied with a new generation of victims. It's kind of like your typical pyramid scheme where the majority of the victims have to be replaced every year, because everyone, the vast majority of people who try a vegan diet end up sick and weak and unhealthy, and they feel it. So they go for meat.
Look,
Usually the first year.
Anolfo, listen, if you're not a troll, then I'm sorry if I'm teasing you with alfalfa and stuff like that. If you truly do believe this, but if you're saying it's been 8 years, having trouble believing that. That being said, we have 10 people that are live. If you're just joining the live stream, if you go back, okay, we go through all of the nutrients that are found in animal food and all of the nutrients that are lacking in animal food. There are certain nutrients
lacking
that are
in plant foods. Lacking.
Yeah, exactly. There are a certain nutrients that are essential for human beings that are absent in the plant kingdom, or they're precursors, or they're poorly absorbed, or they're not properly converted. So that's the first thing. Also go see Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, that book. And he's also when they often say like most of the crops are to feed livestock, as if we're wasting. Can you just talk a little bit about that, JD? Because I hear that about vegans often.
Yes. The United Nations, which is a very vegan-friendly organization, they recently reluctantly admitted in 2 different studies. In the first study, they showed that the overwhelming majority of livestock feed is actually industrial waste. Look into things like distillers' grains. And this is the industrial waste that's left over after the production of spirits like whiskeys and vodkas. Mm-hmm. And so the industrial waste that's left over is fed to livestock. That represents 86% of all livestock feed is industrial waste that is inedible by human beings. For cattle, the UN has published that number is 93% of livestock feed fed to cattle is industrial waste that is produced whenever we human beings process grains and legumes and other plant foods to produce products that are destined solely for human consumption.
It's like all of these fields here, right? That you see, like here, I have like tons of soybean. The majority of this soybean is probably for soybean oil. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost 100%.
Whatever is not used for the oil, the husks and all these other things, that's what's being fed to the livestock, kind of. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah. Well, soybeans. When you talk about soybeans, less than 1% of any of the soybean industrial waste is fed to cattle. So cattle do not eat soybeans in any form or fashion.
Okay.
But there are chickens and pigs do eat soybean product. They are being fed industrial waste from the soybean industry, because about 90% of all soybeans, or 95% of all soybeans are processed to extract the oil. And 100% of that oil is consumed by human beings, either as biofuels cooking oils or processed food ingredients.
Yeah. So if you look here, Alfalfa says, Garland, I've been commenting in your channel more than 8 weeks. So Garland Farms has a channel which is the majority of the videos very short, to the point, sticks to one point usually, and it's debunking veganism. And so this guy's been at his channel for 8 weeks. So obviously he's heard all of this, JD. He's heard all of the, the truth about things, and he's over here just basically trolling. So that's it for you. I'm not popping up any more of your stupid stuff. So what about other people? There's a new person here, Deputy Dave. Deputy Dave is somebody from your channel, I believe, because he said I saw your post or something from Garland Farms. So welcome, Deputy Dave. And Alias, nice to see you, buddy. He's becoming a regular that I see often here. Probably good. Start putting up some stuff that makes sense. It's like recover. Jason, it's my first time on your channel. I saw your post from JD, which sent me here. That's pretty much it. So do you want to cut it off here, JD, and we'll do another session sometime next week?
Yeah.
Or did you want anything that because I think I cut you off a bit. Did you want to finish off? Oh, just what about the rainwater? What about like when it says, it takes this much water to create this much beef, and it takes that much, are they, I heard that they're not counting rainwater. They're counting rainwater as a resource that is being used to produce the food when it's falling from the sky.
Yeah, they are counting, they're factoring in rainwater when they're exaggerating the amount of water required to produce beef by factoring in the water that they drink out of ponds and rivers. And
Okay.
so the other thing is that when a cow drinks water, it will also go out and urinate on the plants. So it's actually a free way to water plants.
Too. Okay. There's somebody, there's 8 people. It almost feels bad to leave when there's so many people watching there. Because I've heard that so many times. It's like takes this much water, but anyways, it just doesn't make much sense. The statistics aren't really being honest at all.
Yeah,
somebody was talking about. Go ahead.
They try to portray this idea that the water is coming out of an aquifer, it's going into a cow, and then it disappears, right?
Yeah.
But the ruminants have always been a natural part of the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the water cycle. In fact, here on the North American continent, we have fewer ruminants now than we had before the European settlement of this continent.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, hard to post real stuff here. So I got to work tomorrow. It's 11 o'clock here. You had a full day, JD. It's too bad to finish the stream when there's 9 people on. Please, everybody. The conversation was really good from the start. So if there's 9 people watching now, just rewind, look from the start. Me and JD we screen shared some important videos, talked a lot about the nutrients that are in plants compared to the nutrients that are in animal, what's lacking, what's the problem with plants, can we get everything that the body needs to thrive through plants. We go through basically all that. I did see one last comment that we could just briefly talk about, the bugs, right? You've probably heard, they're trying to push crickets and things like that. What's your opinion on, starting to just eat the bugs?
Yeah, there's a lot of bugs would be. I really don't think that. I really think that bugs, certain insects, um, have always been a part of the human diet. For instance, a crab or a lobster is basically a sea bug. They've got an exoskeleton. Their biology is essentially the same as the insects that are terrestrial. However, there are nutrients that you will not find in a bug. I
Yeah.
don't think that the B12 is the human bioactive B12. There's uh, there's also concerns about the proteins that are in the exoskeletons can actually they they're very difficult to digest, and if they are ground up into a powder, they can actually become lodged in the lungs and other tissues. So they can uh, that type of protein can be dangerous for human consumption.
Also, I'm assuming they must have defense mechanisms too. These kind of bugs and stuff like that. I mean, you ever smack a ladybug, and then you happen to put your mouth in there, like their exoskeletons and stuff like that. Yeah, I just don't see mass producing factories of bugs and then grinding them into powders is a solution. That would be able to that would be our main protein source, so that we could get rid of ruminant animals. I don't think that makes any sense, and not really going down the right path with
No,
that.
I think that insects could be part of a natural human diet, but to make human beings reliant upon insects as their primary source of sustenance, I don't even think that they have any appreciable amount of heme iron.
Mhm.
So you can imagine what that would do to human health, especially women who are menstruating need heme iron on a regular basis,
Sure.
or else they will. This is why vegans and vegetarians suffer from anemia so often.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna finish the stream showing a couple of the videos that people can go and see. Go back in the feeds, you'll be able to see some of the links that also JD sent, and we'll call it a night, JD, and we'll do it maybe another hour and a half every week, just going down some of the topics. Makes
Sure.
sense?
Yeah, that
Okay.
makes sense.
All right then. Cool, man. Just gonna present this before I go. Yeah, because there's actually like 9 people. There's like more people than there was before. So you can see the screen, right?
Yes.
All right. So it's actually some of my older videos. So very important video if you want to know about toxic vegetable oils. Those are seed oils like canola, soybean, rapeseed, pretty much anything besides olive oil, um, coconut oil. But look this up here, toxic vegetable oils. Go see that one. That's definitely worth it. If ever you do have family members that have Alzheimer's or dementia or any other cognitive issues, you can check out this video. Pop up some research about ketogenic diet, and ketones can help with Alzheimer's. This is one where I go through the grocery store, pointing out all the middle section basically of the grocery store, showing where the omega-6 seed oils are sneaking in. If you go and start the live stream from the start, you'll understand why I'm pointing out so much the omega-6. That was a large part of the conversation. And over here, this video, this is an important one because it basically goes through all of the plant foods that are lacking certain essential vitamins. So yeah, I'm starting to get tired. I'm not even remembering how to talk. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys go back and see the live feed. Stay tuned for next week. Me and JD will definitely make this a regular once a week thing. So let's call it a night, JD. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Good night. Tell Noah I said hello.
I will. I
Okay.
will. God bless everyone. Bye-bye.